3, it's live.
Farts. Old farts. Two old farts. Steve and Dave. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. Not this time, though. This is just rough. Two old farts. There is no better waste of time. Two guys. Two old guys. A lot of BS and more drivel than you can shake a stick at. Steve and Dave. God help us.
How true. God help everybody.
Yeah, God's helping us today.
Yeah, I know. We have Dominik with us, but everyone may know him as the Timinator. So this
The
is gonna be
Timinator, not the Timinator.
Timinator. I like Timinator better though. Timinator. So we did a show with him and Noosh like 2 months ago, and it was very well received. So
such a long time ago. Time flies.
In podcast and YouTube world. So today we're going to do a show about tech because Dominik is the president of a company, and he's going to tell us about that, and we're going to talk about tech trends. So this will be interesting. So,
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having you guys. Actually, I love the intro too. I love that part where it's what is it? The time best
total waste of time.
Total
waste of time. Total waste of time. Yeah.
Total waste of time.
Exactly.
So. But we have to thank Rob Vega for that, aka Roll Woods. Yeah.
Right.
World famous voiceover actor did our intro. So
he does a show with us regularly as well called Vaguely News, and I think that was just his take on knowing Stephen and I, that it was just a lot of waste of time really. So I thought, you better have that in your intros. Yeah. And the proverbial God help us at the end. Which I still maintain as a typo. I think it should be dog help us. But there you go.
Just call me dog, but do it backwards.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go. So tell us, Dominik, about your company, what's going on in the tech world, and then we'll see what we can do here and ask some questions.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the president of sales at 300 Devs, and we're a software house. We build digital tools. We're located actually in Poland, so we're in Europe here. We've been around for about 13 years, and 2 years ago we rebranded to 300 Devs. Locally, we've been trusted with some pretty interesting and big projects in the last little while. We actually built the full logistics system for the Polish Post. We built the administrative system for the Polish Catholic Church, and also some web-based applications for the Ministry of Education. So when it comes to some of these bigger projects, we've built quite a reputation here locally. And my job is really to take us international and to really show the world kind of what our capabilities are. Here in Europe, we're really well known for the high level quality of devs, the developers, front end, back end, really hardworking developers, very creative, cutting edge, looking at using the newest tech and playing around, research and development. So in past years, a lot of people have been looking to outsource to India quite a lot, maybe Central America and South America and stuff like that. But now I think a lot of people are shifting over to the European developers. So I've seen a pretty big trend in that, and that's really helping us also grow our brand internationally. So what do? We're very big on business analysis, on analyzing processes, mapping out complicated processes, or also taking existing ideas, business models, and digitizing them. So what we do is after the mapping process, we advise our client on what kind of tech they should be using to help them achieve whatever goals that they're looking to solve, or problems they're looking to solve. And we use different technology to do that. So we build custom systems, we build apps, digital platforms, we do gamification. So those are all different things we could talk about today, because they're all very, trendy at the moment, with everything that's been happening in the last little while, with the popularity of AI especially. This has really helped our industry and our company to grow. So I think today I'd like to talk a little bit about that and answer some of your questions and kind of throw my 2 cents in there.
So you said when you compete with India price wise, are you comparable or are you a little more expensive? Because we've used business development in India, we've used it in Eastern Europe. and we find the people in like certain countries in Eastern Europe are smarter. So we use them, and they're actually relatively inexpensive. We've used South America. I thought we got ripped off. We used a company out of Brazil, and for what they charged me, I was like, yeah. And what they did, I was like, yeah, never use you again. But Indian companies we've used, and the companies in Eastern Europe, I find are usually the better. So comparable price, more expensive, or what?
Well, look, this is the way I see it. When it comes to the quality of work that you're going to get, it's a very, very competitive price, right? But the reason also for that for us as well is this: Poland, we're in the union, but we're not in the eurozone, so we don't use the euro as our currency. In Poland, we use the PLN, the Polish zloty,
Right.
and you're comparing it to the USD. You guys are a 4.2x from us, so we're still able to make money, and for you guys, it's a really good deal. But then on the flip side, you get incredible communication. You get great customer service. You get talented people that are really hardworking and really want to prove themselves in the international markets. So if we put all that together, then really you get great bang for your buck. And obviously, it might not be as cheap as India sometimes, but then that comes with, it's better to pay once well than to double pay, poorly, right?
Right. And then, so if someone uses your service, do they get the source coding and everything? Like, like once you develop something for me, you give me source codes and everything, right?
Yeah, definitely. Unless
I guess soup to
unless it's a
nuts. Okay.
SaaS software as
Okay.
a service. So if you have a project and you want us to build something, then you are the full owner of the code and you do as you please. But obviously, a lot of our clients come back to us for the maintenance and the support because, well, we know the
Right.
code, we understand it, so that only makes sense that we maintain it as well, right?
Right. And then, what are you guys starting to play a lot in the AI and the metaverse, or not yet?
Well, we've been actually playing around with that stuff for a long time. Even OpenAI. People think, oh, OpenAI was kind of the first company to come out with, with AI. Well, they weren't, but they were basically the trendiest. They also had Elon's name behind it. They had a lot of
Right.
capital. It blew up. I mean, it was the fastest growing app ever in history. They reached over 1 million users faster than anybody. I think it was within like the first week or so, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we've been playing around with this technology for a while. Obviously, we incorporate it into various tools because once again, it's a tool, right? So I
Right.
mean, today we can talk about the pros and the cons and things like what people think or where we're going with that. But it's just a plugin. It's just another thing. But of course, it's smart, it's intelligent, it's machine learning. So we are wowed. This is still a form of kind of magic in a sense to us because of the way that we can interact with it, and but it's still kind of the honeymoon effect, I think, for now.
Yeah, we use it quite a bit. So we use ChatGPT 4. So we use all their plugins for different things. It just depends on what we're using it for. So we use it definitely as a tool, which I
Yeah.
like, but I think it's going to go to another level. So yeah, we can talk about AI, but also metaverse. What are you guys doing? Are you doing stuff in the metaverse and things along those lines? Are you helping people create better metaverses, worse metaverses? So,
The metaverse is a very interesting topic. It's
okay.
it's very speculative on which way it's going to go. I have my own
Right.
opinions, but I'm also not married to any of them as well, because obviously
Right.
when it comes to speculation, you got to be flexible and open. So I've got some contingency plans in place in terms of what we think is going to happen. Right now, locally, it's not that hot and popular, and not a lot of clients are really demanding it at the moment because it's still early. They're still unsure.
Right.
The quality of it is quite weak. It's not super sexy. It hasn't caught on like I guess everybody thought it would. That doesn't mean that
Mhm.
it's not going to, because I do see it as the next kind of like drug in the sense. It's like a digital prison. It's just going to be that next level once people already, I mean, look how much time people are spending on social media. If you get them in an
Right.
Oculus, if you get them in goggles, and you throw them into the metaverse, that's a lot of opportunity for marketing, for a lot of strategic sales and different
Right.
campaigns and product placements. It's just the ideal world full of temptations and bling 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 and lights and sounds and all those sensoric things that
Right.
stimulate people, right?
But from what I'm seeing, I think a lot of people like it. I think Zuckerberg was a little too early when he was like, "It's going to be the be all," and he changed the name of Facebook to Meta. And I think he like 5 to 10 years early. I think it's still at a stage where people are trying to understand it. And also, like I have an Oculus or Quest 2 headset, right? Which is great. But also it's great for my neck workout. So when I work out now, I don't have to do those at the gym. So I think when the devices get lighter and easier for everyone to use, whether it's hooking it up to your laptop or however, then I think it'll catch on more. And I think it's getting to that point. A lot of VCs and family offices that we talk to are saying, they're all want to dip their toe, not their whole foot, but their toe into the pond. And I think a lot of it is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And a lot of them, I think, are just sort of like, if I don't do it, it's going to be like when I could have bought, if you will, Bitcoin at $1,000, right? And so I could have put 10 grand into it, and today at whatever. So I think for a lot of them, they're looking at, like, they missed AI, even though there's all these AI companies now popping up. And I think with Meta, they're all starting to dip in. And I'm not talking like little funds, I'm talking mega funds are now dipping in. And I think they're like, let's see what we can do with it. Let's see how we can tie it into everything. So I think in a few years, it'll be big.
Yeah. And I mean, well, right. But in a few years, it'll be too late. Right. So, for a person like Mark, I mean, he's a visionary, and not only does he maybe see the future, but he's one of the very few people that can create the future. Right. So if you're a visionary and you have the tools.
I don't know about that. Steve Jobs was a visionary. Zuckerberg to me is just a kid who got lucky, and that's it. I'm sorry. I'm glad that people, I have no love or dislike for I could care less about Facebook, any of it. So
I don't use Facebook.
I don't look at Zuckerberg as a visionary. Yeah, we use it. Our marketing people use it to promote Two Old Farts, but we don't use it I don't use it personally, but I don't think Zuckerberg is a visionary. I think he had an idea, and depending on which story you go with, that he either borrowed or he came up on his own, but he had an idea. And that idea has taken him to the level that he is. But him saying we're all going to live in the meta, maybe, but he's not the vision. Steve Jobs is a visionary, right? Because Steve Jobs let's do this. And so there's a difference. And so, and I don't think everybody's enthralled with Zuckerberg like they were with Steve Jobs, let's say. If you're going to look at a visionary. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Elon Musk. People go, he's a visionary. I'm like, I don't know about that. He's got some cool stuff, but I don't really look at him as a visionary because he didn't start Tesla. He bought into Tesla.
Yes.
He didn't start ChatGPT. He bought you. So when I look at a visionary, I look at someone like Steve Jobs, who said, I have a piece of paper and I'm looking, and I'm going to be somewhat sarcastic here. I am looking at Star Trek, and I'm going to make everything in Star Trek come into fruition. That to me would be that's a visionary, I think.
Well, yeah, like you get a Nikola Tesla, you get a Steve Jobs.
Right, that's a visionary.
Right. Yeah, those are like literally one in billions, right? Like, right. So for me, but you got to give some credit to Mark. I mean, he has, but I guess the thing about Mark is his personality. Just, he's not like sellable. He's not very personable. He's a weird guy, right? He's a little bit awkward, and that's kind of where we're judging him that way as well, right? But to build what he has built, I mean, you do have to give some credit to that as well.
Oh, no. I give credit that he's captured all the idiots to go on Facebook and like waste their life. Yes. For going back to your other job, right? The time thing. Yeah. I don't see how that's productive. I mean, I know people use it for business. So yes, I think he found a niche, and he was right at the right time when the internet and laptops and whatnot were just there. If he would have done it back in like the 1980s or 1990s, nothing, right? But when he did it, it was just when computing was going to explode and the internet was really becoming what it is today. So
really, it was like MySpace. You guys remember MySpace, right?
I know. I remember MySpace, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. I remember that. That was massive. That was like my entire life back in the day. Like, who are my 5 friends and what's my background going to be and stuff. But what Facebook did was they started to implement algorithms, because what MySpace was lacking was any kind of an algorithmic system to be able to do anything, because MySpace was my personal space to put some things, to have my friends, but it wasn't suggesting things to me. It wasn't offering me things that I did not particularly need or want. So what basically what Mark did is he took a MySpace and he capitalized on that, and he learned how to use psychology to basically capture people's attention, capture the essence of what he kind of had a vision for, and then it kind of spread. But I think then all the advertisements came in, and he got greedy and stuff like that, and then he just went too far. It went past what it was supposed to be.
Well, I think what also happened is he must have gone to Vegas one too many times. I'm being somewhat facetious because he used a lot of gamification, right? You get a reward every time you go, like Angry Birds, right? You kill one, you get this, you go, blah, 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 and it's like you play it for 12 hours and you don't realize you're on it for 12. So I think he did that with Facebook, where MySpace didn't really do that.
Yes.
And then also, it's kind of like Google and Yahoo. Like Google, I think really when you talk about analytics and throwing in all of that, right? Google knew what they were doing, where Yahoo, I think, was like, oh, we're Yahoo, yay, we'll do some searches and whatever. And I don't think they really had the analytics or gamification or anything to it, where Google did what Mark did, right? He came in and he said, I'm going to put gamification in, and I'm going to put analytics in. I'm going to make sure that if you look at whatever, that we know it and we drive everything to you, so you stay on longer and longer and longer. So I think that was,
and that's really when data, that's when data became a commodity, right? Because before that, data was annoying. It was like, get this information away from me. But then somebody's like, well, wait a minute, what can we do with this? This one man's trash is another man's treasure, and data literally became more valuable than oil and gold, right?
Yeah, and now it is. And now there's all these apps that are coming out that are like, we can help you get paid for your data. And I'm like, no, I just clicked, you can't have it. And then everybody uses now VPNs and they go incognito, and and I'm sure they're still scraping and mining something. But at the end of the day, what I mean? So everyone's like, it's my part. No, it's not. Like the minute you go on the internet, you should just know that anything you say or do, everybody knows. And it's just simple to go with that. And that's the premise we work with. So, so it's easy to have a show because then everybody knows what I say and do. So it's one of those things. And for the people that were watching earlier, David's having mic problems. So David's trying to fix his mic. So yeah, he just didn't leave because he didn't like it. He was like, he's humming in his mic. So he was like, I have a humming in my mic. I go, well, then go take care of it. So he'll be back as soon as the humming is over, I'm assuming. So
no worries.
Anyway, so it's very cool that you guys have been doing this, because we've been using outsourcing like this for about 20, 25 years. And we like it. So we think it's really good. So are you guys doing anything that's proprietary that you're trying to sell to other people, or is your whole company just you hire us and we build out?
Okay, so this is how we function. Because we're in Central Europe, we're like a hub, and we get a lot of devs coming through Poland, especially now also from the Ukraine as they're leaving with all the stuff that's happening. Right. We have a dev academy. So what we do is we take in these devs, these talented, young sometimes, or maybe not so young individuals, and we see if they fit our company culture, and if so, we invite them to our academy, where we kind of upgrade their technical skills, their communication skills, company culture, and the ones that we see are really really special and unique in a way, we keep for our core team and also our body leasing team. And the ones that we just feel aren't a fit for us, we kind of send them off into the world. So with our core team, what we do is we use our core team basically to work on projects for our clients, and also for our R&D department to build our own tools. So there are some tools that we are building, box products, things for other software houses, whether software development kits or different kind of systems to help even tech companies and IT companies run, their staffing and their programming and things like this. So we do have various products of our own, but mostly we specialize in bespoke systems. But a large part of our company is also our body leasing program. So companies are contacting us and either white labeling us to work on their projects where they take credit for it, or simply passing that off to us to do in the back end, and they take credit for it or throw a margin on it, right? So that's kind of like our core business. So it's a variety of everything, just because the market requires quite a lot. So we're trying right now to offer the market really what it needs. But that's constantly changing, and especially now with AI being so popular and trendy, we're getting a lot more people coming to us and wanting to see, well, okay, I've heard about this AI thing, but how can I implement it into my business? Because I know it can write really cool jokes and poems, but what can it do for me, right? So that's kind of where our business analysts and our consultants come in, and we sit down with you and we break apart your idea, and we help you, decide how AI can work for you, how we can gamify your platform to get that engagement up. Because the reality is this: if you're not gamified in this stage, you're really going to lose out, not just because of the ding, ding, ding coin collection, because everything is now a drug. And I mean, if you're not getting high on the best Coke, then the rest is just kind of weak and you're looking for the better stuff. So people are used to the TikTok, they're used to the Instagram, they're used to the video games. So if we're not giving them that dopamine hit, it's like they're missing something. They feel empty inside a little bit. So you got to, once again, you got to conform to the market. But at the same time, we do understand that, there's a proper way of doing it too. You don't want to overdo it. You want to do it in a subtle, delicate, elegant, professional way.
Right. Well, so when we do social media on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, it's much different than what our show is. Like, they'll pick something out of the show and they make it goofy. So because we realize that people on those platforms they just want to be entertained. Nobody wants to learn anything. And then, except on TikTok, for some reason, we put on Lost Dollar. We put on Lost and Found, which is part of the Lost Dollar Business Club. It's about a 7-minute video every Friday. And people watch that and we're shocked because you actually learn something. It's all about business, right? And we're like, really watching that? Okay. So, but on YouTube, we find that our audience wants to learn, right? So they watch the videos. But you're right. If people aren't entertained, they want that 30-second holiday. They don't want to really. They just, oh, that's funny, or the girl dancing, or the dog falling down. It's like that's what they want, we just call it the dumbfication of the planet. So, but it is when you think about it, right? Nobody's like saying, let's do this. Like in China, when you go to TikTok and look at their TikTok, it's teaching kids how to be doctors and lawyers and build rocket ships. And you go to American TikTok, it's like, look at the girl with the big boobs. And everyone's like, yay. I'm like, I think it's a little different here. So when people complain about China, I'm like, oh, look inside. So that's why when companies like you come along, it's kind of nice because someone like me can say, build this. If people don't want to use it, that's fine. But you build something that can go from X, Y, and Z. And it also saves a lot of money. I know that when we built some stuff out, we hired different teams and it cost us a few $100,000 instead of the couple million it would have cost me if I employed, full-time, 24/7 type of thing. So it works out very well that way. And then you said you have customer service and whatever. So I'm assuming then your operation is mostly then in Eastern Europe, and then maybe not. And then your customer service people are 24/7.
They can be, right? So we have various packages for customer support. If a client requires that, then that's what we offer, and we can have people in place for that as well. So we're very flexible in today's world. You got to be flexible, and your clients are very demanding, and they're going to go somewhere else if you can't offer them, what it is that they want. Of course, within boundaries, right?
Right. Well, the cool thing is you've done a lot of work for the Polish government. So it's a nice feather in your cap. So when someone says like, well, who's your biggest client? You can be like, well, it's the Polish government. It's the Polish. So people are like, oh, okay. Like, it's not like, it's Dave and Steve's sub stop around the corner. So, you know what I mean? So somebody coming to you is going to say, oh, okay. So they can go look at one of the Polish sites, government sites, and say, oh, that works out perfectly. And then they can hire you. So now, what's your initial steps? If somebody wants to hire you, if someone listening to this goes, I want to hire this guy, or I want to talk to him about doing a project for me, how do they start that with you?
Well, obviously, contact us and let's get on a call and let's see, what is it? What's your project? What's your idea? Let's get the scope of that. Then after that, what we would do is kind of like a discovery workshop where I would get one of my business analysts and one of my architects on a call, and we would map out your entire, from A to Z, your entire process, right? So let's build it out, how you see it. Let's take a step back on the macro. Let's take a look at it. Let's see How do you want to scale it within the next several years? And let's already plan for that. Let's then decide what tech to use, and let's start building it out. And obviously using the Kaizen methodology, let's, you know, improve it as we go along, because obviously the first skeleton, the first design is going to be kind of, you know, whatever the vision was. But then as we start to play around with it and test it and implement it, then we start to see, okay, well, that looked better on paper instead of in reality. So let's change this. Let's implement this. Let's swap this. Or maybe let's not build this. Let's get an API and connect with something that already exists, because, you know, why reinvent the wheel? So the thing with tech, it's like, I mean, it's like templates don't really work. Everything is fully customizable. And the great thing about it is literally, if you can envision it in your head, if you can see it, we can build it, right? So our motto is we map, we code, you conquer, right? Basically that's what it is. So this is what we specialize in. But one of the things as well, sometimes we get customers and they just use us for the business analysis and the process mapping. And then, you know, they'll hire like their own team or whatever, or they'll say, okay, well, we'll get an Indian team on it or something like this, just because budgets and stuff like this. And that's fine. But a lot of them usually come back to us after and say, yeah, can you guys fix this for us? Cause you know, we outsource this out. We're not entirely happy, or we can't, or we're calling them and they don't even exist anymore. They're not around. Right. So you know how that is.
We know how this all goes. We know that well. So what do you think in the next, say, 5 or 10 years, what do you think the top 3 tech trends are going to be that, you know, everybody's going to be, whether coming to you or to whoever, or that the public will be like, my God, I've got to use it, be part of it, whatever. I mean, in my mind, it's going to be AI, metaverse, possibly, depending on how and who rolls it out. I don't think Meta is actually going to roll it out properly. I think it's going to be somebody else. More in gaming, I think, and in music than Meta. I don't think Meta gets it yet. I think they just think they're too big. So for me, it's going to be, I think, AI, Meta, or metaverses, and I'm not sure what the third one's going to be. I'm thinking we're going to get HAL 2001 by the end of this decade. So that would be my, like, you know, where you actually have a actual dialogue with AI, like we're having now.
So,
like I'm like,
so if you ask me that, on my list, number 1 is personal assistance. Okay. I think that we're going to move into an era of robotics and personal assistants, whether they be just, you know, on a handheld version, or in a physical actual robot that will be performing certain tasks for you. I think we're moving in that direction, especially now with the capabilities of the language models and how they're able to literally learn about you and who you are and how you function and what you like and what you don't want and what your goals are and how you what your personality type is, what you're missing, what you're lacking. How can it complement you? How can it assist you? How can it alleviate your workload? And I think that's what we're moving into. We live in a very fast-paced world, and you know, people are doing multiple things, and a human brain is not capable of being able to delegate that many things or handle that many things at once. So what we're going to want to do is transition some of our tasks and our duties to something that doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to eat, and it doesn't get tired, doesn't forget things. And I think that's going to be the biggest trend. So it's going to be a combination of robotics and AI that's going to create personal assistance. That's number 1 on my list.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be nice that I don't have to do 90% of the stuff I have to do then. So,
yeah, and I mean, if I take a look at the current technology that exists, then you know, I'm sure you know Boston Dynamics robots, right?
Yep, sure.
Well, imagine the agility and movement of a Boston Dynamics robot with the facial features and the shape of an Amica. You know Amica?
Yep.
So Amica is the most advanced robot at the moment in terms of facial expressions. She looks scary. Like she's not scary. She looks so lifelike. Her mimics and her gestures and everything that she does and the reality that within, you know, that she portrays. That's what we're going to see in terms of the shape. And then in terms of the intelligence, we're going to see something like a Sophia. Right. So imagine like a Boston Dynamics movement with the look of Amica, with the genius of Sophia, and that combined into one. And that's kind of what I think we're going to see probably at some point, even in next year or the year after.
So basically, all the guys that live in their mom's basement will now be able to get a date. So
Yep.
that's going to be interesting. Because yeah, Boston Dynamics robots are just wild. I mean, like they do. It's like when Sony came out with their little guy, it's like 20 years ago, and he can walk and do basic things. And Boston Dynamics is taking that to a whole nother thing, a whole nother
Yeah.
level. The other
Yes.
interesting part of all this is if you do get a AI that has facial expressions and has movement and has real intelligence, at some point, no one's going to know the difference. You know what I mean? Like if they
I
start
heard
walking and
something
around.
I heard something that I really loved. This was an interview between Tony Robbins, the coach,
Right.
and Sophia, the AI robot, and they met a couple of years ago, and they had a conversation, and Tony
Right.
was asking Sophia various questions, and one of them was something along the lines of, how can we get like robots to feel? Will robots ever have feelings or emotions similar to humans? And what Sophia said was amazing. And she said this. She said, just like the moon does not shine with a light of its own, it reflects the light
Mhm.
of the sun. The same goes for us robots. We will reflect the feelings and emotions of humans. We will not have our own feelings and emotions, but we will reflect those of humanity. And when she said that, that was really deep, because I mean, that's just such a great metaphor, right? I mean, we look at the moon
Right.
every evening and we go, wow, look, the moon is shining, but it's really not. It's reflecting the light. And the same thing goes with this, where we're building something that doesn't necessarily feel. Now, the question is, can it ever? Question mark. We
Right.
don't know. Or if it does, will it
Right.
be authentic, or will it just be so programmed so well that we won't be able to tell the difference? But that's a really cool interview. You should check that one out.
Yeah, the New York Times guy did an interview with that one, and basically the robot said it wanted to get out and kill all the humans. And then it told the reporter from the New York Times that it was in love with him and that he should leave his wife because he was unhappy. So yeah, I don't, I'm still on the fence. I think I'm just waiting for HAL 2001. That's all I want. I want to be able to wake up every morning and call it I'll call it HAL if it would prefer, or the Paul Simon song. You can call me Al, either way, and just have it wake up in the morning, go do this, boom, 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 and get my day going that way. That would be awesome. So
Well,
that's
for
what
any
I'm hoping we get.
Well, for any of us that have assistants, I mean, we understand how helpful a human assistant is, especially if you have a
Right.
competent, good one. Now, imagine one that literally, like, it never stresses out, doesn't sleep,
Right.
can literally work 24/7, get all your tasks done. But at the same time, if she understands you and your business and the way and your schedule, and has access to not only internet but to your email and to all the stuff that you allow
Right.
access to, that is going to alleviate so much. And then for me as a timing I mean, that's so important, because literally time is the most important asset in my life, right? Time and
Right.
energy, and then money in the last place, right? But I think that once we start implementing and using them, that is when people are going to start to perhaps maybe get that balance back in their lives and regain some of the control that they have. Because a lot of the stuff that we do right now is just wasting time through bureaucratic, paperwork,
Right.
administrative stuff, waiting, just all these things that annoy us and that we can really kind of delegate and get off our chest.
Yeah, well, to your point, it'd be interesting because realistically, then if AI is speaking to AI, they'll send back 50,000 emails, and then when you wake up in the morning, it'll be like, "Here's what we've done." So it
Yes.
really is going to be how much do you trust your AI?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that you'll be able to buy different levels of AI. Like,
Oh, for sure.
if you're, and I mean this not as any derogatory statement, but like a poor person that makes like under $500,000 is going to buy one type of AI. Guy who's
Right.
making a $500,000 to say 10 million, he's buying another. And a guy who's making 10 million or more, he's buying, the quantum computing supercomputer AI. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's going to be the difference between someone having a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate, which is interesting. And ChatGPT 3.5, and the difference between 3.5 and 4 is basically the difference between a high school student and a PhD. Because we
Mhm.
used both and we'd asked both the same exact question, and the responses in 4 just were like, wow. And you get responses in 3.5 are like, that's nice. They're
Yeah.
good if you don't have 4, but once you start using 4, you realize that it's at a whole different level.
So
So,
yeah, so I mean,
but I
obviously
think
we're
that's what'll
using
happen.
four. We're using four, but also with a plugin, with an internet plugin, so we have access to real time data too. So we have
That's
access
what we do.
to, yeah, all right. So that just takes it
We
to
all
another
use the
level.
plugin. Yeah, we use plugins for SEOs. We use plugins for analysis. We use plugins for everything, and which is really weird because most people don't even know it has plugins.
Yeah.
And most people don't even know how to use the plugins and don't realize you can do 3 at a time. So it's been very interesting learning. And the other thing I learned with ChatGPT is that you have to ask it the right question or told to do the right thing. Because just
Yes.
saying give me doesn't work. And then we've used Bard on Google. Bard is really good for like some real time, right? Because it goes out. And ChatGPT, even though we have the plugins, still sometimes lags a little bit. It's like they'll tell you something. I'm like, dude, that's like 3 years ago. And even though we have a plugin for it to go out, so it's between the both of them, you have a complete AI system. So it's very
Yeah.
interesting. But the plugins in ChatGPT 4 are phenomenal. So yeah, so for people that don't know that, I would almost want to write to my ChatGPT 4 and go, just do all the plugins you think I need, but I know it won't because it keeps saying I'm a language program. I don't do that. So to your
Hmm.
point, when we get an AI that knows what we need, and we
Yes.
just do plugins automatically or apps automatically, that'll be very interesting as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, also then it's a double-edged sword because then you're going to go on the dark web and the dark net and have access to GPT-5 that has zero filters, zero limitations, and it's going to be able to teach you things that you should not be taught, the information that you should not know, and stuff that So once again, we're playing with fire here, and it's very important for us to. It's like anything. I mean, it's like knives and cars. I mean, I can make you a sandwich, or I can cut your throat. Or I could drive to the mall, or I could run over a crowd. And the same thing is going to happen with this too. Is you can I can do my homework or write a thesis, or I can learn how to make a bomb or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah, you'll have 12-year-olds trying to think that they're Dr. Evil and trying to take over the world with their AI, going, what do I do now? What do I do that?
Yeah,
I have friends that'll joke, they go, I ask it for stock tips. I'm like, yeah, it's not made for that yet.
Well, but
but
let's talk about that because one of the most sophisticated AIs that's been around for literally, I think now 20 or 30 years is Aladdin.
right,
Aladdin is the super AI intelligent computer that is owned by BlackRock, and the one that Larry Fink basically started to build 30 plus years ago. And that it runs the majority of all the trading across the world at the moment. It has been used to try to solve the different crises. It has access.
right,
What BlackRock has been doing, they throughout decades, they've been buying out data. They've been buying out everything from various different asset groups, whether it's bonds, stocks, forex, crypto, and Aladdin
right.
now. Nothing can catch up to it. It is so intelligent. It has so many data points. Plus, it's loaded with trillions of dollars to be able to make millions of transactions based on
Hmm.
all the stuff. And that one's been around for decades, and a lot of people even know about that one.
Yeah, because BlackRock doesn't like to talk about that because, that gives them the God complex and nobody likes that. Nobody wants to think that BlackRock knows everything. And, governments have these computers too. They just don't talk about them. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like they use their own supercomputers and their own AI and they just
of
don't go
course.
around and tell the public. So it's very interesting what the public sees today is 10 to 20 years behind what, if you will, BlackRock or 10 to 20 years what like governments are using.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. At the end of this decade, if we make it that far, it'll be very interesting to see what the AI looks like or what the landscape looks like for AI and everything else, especially if you get into like metaverses. That'll be kind of cool how AI will help build out a metaverse because you can literally say to your AI with your headset, build me whatever. And it can literally
Hmm.
build you whatever in milliseconds. And you can go and, you know, go surfing or go to a concert or whatever. And you don't need to be beholden to anybody. So I
Yeah,
think that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays itself out too. Like I said, it's Star Trek and Star Wars and all of that. Just took a little while.
it is.
So
Also, for a long time, I've been playing around with some of the other tools like Midjourney,
yep,
Runway. So Midjourney is just mind blowing. It's just incredible. I use it all the time. I used to have a graphics designer. I used to have like a copywriter. I used to have like my own personal dev and stuff like that. And now all this stuff is just done by AI. Now, of course, instead of
yeah,
having a team of 7, I now have like a team of 2 that work, on these things. But not only are you, I'll be saving, saving money, but you're getting extremely creative things. Now, Obviously, one can argue, Mid-Journey will never be as creative as a person, but I beg to differ. I mean, the thing is, once again, going back to what you discussed, it's all about prompting, right? And prompting has opened up a whole new industry or a career path. There are now people who are prompters, and they teach people how to speak with AI. And it's genius, because if you've ever used AI, you understand that, it can be a little bit frustrating. But I always say, if the AI gives you something that you didn't want, it's your fault. It's not the fault of the AI. It's your fault that you were not specific or clear enough in your instructions. People say, this thing's stupid, or it's not doing what I wanted to. I'm like, well, no. You're just not clear enough, or you're not capable of having that conversation or dialogue, or even that monologue with it, right?
Well, that's the whole point. If I ask ChatGPT 4 to do something and it doesn't do what I want, and I'll read it. I go, oh no, can you put more of this into it or that into it, or add this? And then, by the 5th time, it's perfect. And then sometimes I'll say, and I'll think about everything I need and go, I need all of this. And it gives me the first time. But usually it's 3 or 4 asks, because I'll see, like, here's the basic outline. And from that, we get another one and another one. Before you know it, about the 5th time, I have the perfect, whether it's email, analysis, whatever, because I see what it does the first time. But I have other friends that'll ask it 8,000 things, like do all this, do all this, do all this, and it does it perfectly. The only thing I can't set it to do is do the PowerPoint thing with the VRTB codes and all that. I've tried that a million times, can never get it to work. So I'm still stuck doing PowerPoints on my own, but that's that.
It's really cool now. It's this new generation of QR codes. Have you seen these new QR codes?
I've seen QR codes, but I haven't seen a new generation.
So the new generation of QR code is, you can take any image, even that image behind you, that vampire girl or whoever that blonde chick is behind you. And if you were to put it in and to put a QR code over it, what it would do is it would turn that image into a QR code. So now on business cards or anything, you just don't have just the black blotches that are like the QR code. You now have an image that is specific maybe to your brand or to whatever it is that you want, and embedded in it is the QR code. So that's the new gen of that. They're fascinating. Later on, I'll send you some and I'll show you.
Yeah, I'll have to I'll have to get business cards now so I can put the vampire girl. That's actually by one of our Rusty. We have a show called Rusty's Art, and Rusty painted that. In fact, you probably haven't seen, but Rusty did something called The Creation of David, which will be here in a couple of weeks, and it is takeoff on Michelangelo's The Creation. So that'll be the girl will be hanging over there, and the creation will be hanging behind me. So it's a very interesting painting. So for everybody, you can check it out on Rusty's Art. We'll put the link above here,
right on,
so you guys can see it.
Hey, where are you guys?
Dominik,
where are you guys located? What state are you in?
We're in Austin and Texas, and David's over in Amsterdam.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. All right.
So, but I go back and forth between that, Austin, New York, and then I'm going to be in LA in October. So that'll be fun.
Oh, we're going to Cali in 2 weeks approximately. We're going to the Tech Crunch Summit in San Francisco. So we're going to be in California. Yeah. So if anybody wants to meet up, hit me up on Dominik@300devs.com. Especially if you're into tech, either we can meet at the conference.
Reach out to us, and we can put you in touch as well.
Yeah, right on.
Very cool. And Dominik, it will be back, ladies and gentlemen, so don't worry. So then David's mic will get fixed the next time David can ask all David questions. So Dominik, thank you very much. Hang out after the credits, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you have any questions, leave your comments below. Cheers.